Today, it's all about Orlando Sanford International Airport. Here we go. Welcome to Tuesday Travel Chat. I am your host, Julia, along with Bob Cook from Go Travel, and we have Todd Payne from Orlando Sanford International Airport. He's going to talk about everything you need to know. It's fun to kind of deep dive into airport stats and how it might affect you and your upcoming travel plans. So, Todd, take it away.
Hello, Julia. Hello, Bob. It's nice to meet you. Good
Nice
to
to
be
meet you.
aboard.
Yes.
It's my pleasure to represent Orlando Sanford International Airport and share some slides and some information about the airport.
Awesome.
We're very unique as the second airport in Orlando, and obviously Orlando International is about 35 miles from us. We're north of the city, and with the demand that exists, not only for originating travel, obviously we're one of the largest leisure demand points in the United States. Orlando definitely needs more than one airport. Most major U.S. cities have two, and we're the second. Quite a bit smaller and actually quite a bit easier to get through, but we'll be growing as well as MCO as in the past.
Awesome.
One of the unique things about the airport is its operating model. Most people don't really know what a P3 partnership is. It's a private, public-private partnership that operates the airport. We'll talk a little bit about the history of the airport later, but this slide shows a little bit about it. So the Sanford Airport Authority, which is the city of Sanford's guidance and control over the airport, operates the airport. They received the airport from the Navy. It was a naval air station previously, and you'll see a slide on that later again. Back in the day, they wanted to turn the airport into a commercial airport. So they had a private partner come in and build the infrastructure to support a commercial airport.
Wow.
That was the terminal, the car rental, the concessions program. That company has been bought and sold. It was bought 3 years ago, back actually in 2018, a little bit more than 3 years, by a company called VINCI Airports. VINCI is a very large conglomerate out of Paris, France. And VINCI's expertise is operating airports worldwide. And in fact, VINCI has 73 airports worldwide.
Wow.
And you can see again on the slide that airports around the world. So the subsidiary of VINCI at Sanford, at Orlando Sanford, operates the airport there. And we also operate other airports. We're the administrative support for other airports in the U.S., including Hollywood Burbank, Atlantic City. We operate Terminal E and F, the international terminals at Atlanta Hartsfield. So it's a big company. Our largest airport, actually, we operate London Gatwick.
Wow.
Amazing. I mean, I know growing up in Central Florida and kind of around Sanford, I never would have thought, I mean, it's grown so much over the years, but I never would have thought it's a huge connection with this big
Very
European operator
right.
and like you say, one of London's main airports.
So, and we just took over 13 airports in Mexico, 7 airports in the Cape Verde Islands. We have airports in Brazil and Cambodia and Japan, and it's really something.
Just a few.
Yeah. So when we have a corporate meeting, it's generally a long trip for me, which always makes it interesting. But it's really about Orlando Sanford. It's about our airport, and I talked about the history of the airport. SFB came about in 1942. And the airport was deeded to the U.S. Navy on June 11th of 1942.
Oh, wow.
Commissioned as the Naval Air Station on November 3rd of that year. It was fighter support and training in World War II. As you can see, the Navy actually gave the airport back to the city, and the New York Giants training camp went there, among other things.
Oh,
there was
my
a hospital
gosh.
on the property. It was still an airport. And then the Navy actually took it back prior to the Korean War, where there was more training there. So there's a lot of history, and Navy history in particular, at the airport. But the airport was named Orlando Sanford International Airport in 1996. It's been under that name for some time.
And just quickly, for those who may not be familiar with where Orlando Sanford, maybe people they know Orlando.
Sure.
where is it, and who does it serve, just kind of in general? I know you're going to dive deeper into it, but on a high level, what are we talking
Sure.
about?
So, the airport is located in Seminole County. It is on the southwest corner of Sanford. It is very accessible via 417. You can also use Lake Mary Boulevard, which right from I-4, or you can use 417 I-4, or use 417 to go south. The airport is northeast of the city of Orlando. I haven't measured it. I think it's probably about 20 miles northeast of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as far as to the parks, it's about a half hour to Universal from there, and about 45 minutes to Disney, maybe a little longer based on traffic on given days. The nice thing is the airport really serves an area of Orlando that's growing very significantly, and not just in population, but in business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interest for people who, want to spend a little less time traveling down I-4 or even 417 and, use their own airport. And that's what we're building toward, is having a much higher level of service and more carriers.
Yes, it's a northern area of Orlando that's kind of not in the heart of the kind of, let's say, tourist zone. It's very much people that live, work, and play up in that area. So, like you say, for businesses, it's a very nice option.
And we found that some of the carriers that we're talking to, the airlines, have an interest because it's also not far from Daytona. If a carrier is not flying into Daytona, they see us as an access point into Volusia, which makes a lot of sense. And actually, a lot of our customers come from that area. So
awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's such growth in the Lake Mary Seminole County area in terms of businesses. I mean, if you drive up I-4 and look at Lake Mary Boulevard, it's bank after bank after bank for card processing and all sorts of other
it's really very
companies. It's amazing.
You're right. And that is going to be the base of the pitch that we make to the legacy airlines.
Yes.
People go, legacy airline at Orlando Sanford. Yeah, it's going to happen at some point. We've had two actually speak very fondly of that in the last year. So I can't share everything, but the interest in our airport is quite significant. We came from a worldwide air service event in October. We had 22 airline meetings in 2.5 days, which is a lot. So that's a good sign. That's good.
And what's great is, I know we kind of chat about it this earlier, but most major cities have a couple couple airport options, and it serves as a complement to maybe the more predominant airports.
Well, and the folks, again, who are on the northern side of Orlando and even the western side, the folks in the villages, they want an easier access, and we're it. We will be that, and we're sort of growing. We're at 3.3 million passengers last year, and just looking at the route map, you can see the markets that we have. The airlines have recently started, and I should say Allegiant, who is our largest carrier. Allegiant has their largest base in the country at Orlando Sanford, despite the fact that they are based in Las Vegas, and they have a large base there. We're actually larger, which we have, depending upon the time of year, 17 or more aircraft based at our airport, flying to 68 markets. The newest markets they're flying to, Las Vegas, which they're going to be flying seasonally in the summer. Akron, Canton, Ohio, which is great because my wife is from the northern Akron area, and Provo, Utah just started.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We've got skiers going to Provo, and our friends at Swoop, one of our two Canadian airlines, just launched London, Ontario service.
Who knew there was a Swoop? That was the first one for us today.
I thought it was a law firm. Swoop and Flair Incorporated.
Swoop and Flair.
Swoop is a subsidiary of WestJet, which is one of the larger Canadian carriers.
There we go.
Flair is Flair, but they're both good carriers. They're both low-cost carriers, and you can get a phenomenal deal going to Canada.
Now, do Swoop and Flair both take outbound passengers?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes. You can buy in either direction. I know, Bob, you're referring to the old days.
I'm referring to the old days. Yes.
Orlando Sanford opened as really the main Orlando gateway for group tour business out of Europe.
Yes.
There was a time earlier in our history where you'd look out on the airport ramp and see multiple 747s, DC-10s, L-1011s, 767s, which explains why we have such a large federal inspection station. But those days have changed. That business in Europe has really pulled down.
Yeah.
There's a lot less of that group tour business, although we do have one that operates with a point of sale in Europe, like those others did. Last year, we had a flight from Madrid, Spain, a few times, and with an entity called World to Fly, which is owned by Iberostar Hotels.
Oh, okay. We know Iberostar.
We'll see. The group tour operators move around.
Yes.
They do different things that we love to have them back. So we'll see what happens with that. They were flying an A330.
While we're talking about
Big
group
plane.
tours and travel planning, I figure, hey, this is a little good moment to mention. Remember, we have our specialists that can take you anywhere in the world for your travel planning needs. But also, we do have Central Florida and parks specialists. So if you're looking to visit Central Florida, let us know, and we'll connect you with one of our specialists, and maybe you'll be able to fly into Sanford and
We'd
have
like
that experience.
A lot. And we really, we've spoken to some airlines about having transatlantic service that you could sell on the U.S. side. That's another pitch that we've had, and hopefully we'll succeed in that at some point. So right now we have 68 routes that are being flown domestically by Allegiant.
Wow.
And then another 7 that are being flown by Swoop and Flair, and those change based on season. But that's what we have. If you look at the slide, we're at 3.3 million passengers in 2019. It says 3.29. Oops, I fudged. 2.78 million in 2022. We were impacted, as you can see, by COVID, and everybody else in our industry was as well. There's a pilot shortage right now in the airline industry, and that's affected us as well. But as we spread out and we have more air service, there's a greater breadth, then the impact of things like that will be less significant.
Sure.
So,
well, I would think you'd be very open to seeing a lot of other planes coming in, especially your runways are so long. I mean, you can land anything there, including the former space shuttle.
It's a long runway, and the Navy built it. Thank you very much. It's well over 11,000 feet, which is long enough to land even an A380 600 passenger plane. However, it couldn't taxi. A380 is too wide to taxi, as it is in most U.S. airports, with some exceptions. But I put a slide up talking about the future of the airport, selling the airport. That's I'm the director of air service and commercial development.
Okay.
And I spend a great deal of time talking to airlines and their network executives about why they should be flying. Right. This slide shows, just the demand, the growth of Greater Orlando. And you can see where SFB is located. And it's interesting to point out, and we love all of the counties around us. Seminole actually has the highest median household income of all the counties in Central Florida, which a lot of people wouldn't consider or would find that surprising.
Right.
The airlines like to hear that, particularly because we're in Seminole, but taking nothing again away from MCO and the folks in Orange County. This image is a heat map. And this is, although only 31% of our total customers come from the local area.
Okay.
So you see 69% are coming inbound to try to find some sunshine.
That's interesting. I think for us locals, we equate it as, that's our secret airport,
Well, and hopefully if I'm doing my job, it'll be less secret in the future, but yes.
But it is interesting. 69% are actually coming from other places.
And where they're going, as you might imagine, to zip codes with Mickey Mouse, Harry Potter, and large fish. That's where they go. Which is no surprise. But if you look at the heat map originating, obviously you see, Sanford and Lake Mary and the areas immediately around the airport. But you also see significant passengers way west over in the Villages, up near Ormond Beach and Daytona, and even all the way down to Melbourne. Isn't that something? It is really, and I think it speaks a little bit to the airport's strengths and weaknesses. And they're common. One of the strengths of the airport is we have nonstop service to a lot of places that's hard to get to. Allegiant's specialty is flying to secondary markets. But the negative, and something we're trying to fill, is we don't have a lot of nonstop service to major airports.
Gotcha.
We have right now Nashville, we have Pittsburgh, but we don't have the Philadelphia yet, or the New York, or we have
Allentown.
Right, exactly. We have
Asheville
Concord instead of Charlotte.
Yes.
And again, we love Allegiant for flying whatever they're going to fly. But we'll have that service to
Mhm.
larger markets, hopefully sooner than later. We'll have to re-record this.
That'll be the update next
There you
year.
go. I'm all in. Let's make it sooner than later. Bob, you spoke about our long runways.
Yes.
There it is, 11,002 feet. That's the
Wow.
main
That's a
runway. That's
big
yeah,
runway.
that can land a lot of airplane.
Well, I remember usually at all the planes coming in to turn around to go back out, because you'd always see them flying over at around 4 to 6 o'clock, right over Seminole Mall, over I-4. Okay, there they are. Okay, and then we always could count because they would be dumped out of their hotels in Orange County early. So Seminole County Mall loved it
Yeah.
because they were loaded
Oh, that's
with
funny.
the Brits coming up to shop.
Oh, back in the day.
Back
Well,
in
you
the
know,
day, yeah.
Back in the day, we had technically 2 terminals. Even though
Yeah.
only one. But we had Terminal A and
Yes.
Terminal B. We're, by the way, getting away from that now. It's
Oh.
now one terminal, which it's always been.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there was 2 separate entrances. To
Yes,
the
I
airport.
remember
You're flying
that.
international. You were in Terminal A, which is now the East Concourse.
Mhm.
When we did the update to the airport, we now have 1 departure screening area, 1 ticket counter area. And then you go through screening and you go left or right. You go to A or you go to East or West Concourse.
And is screening still up on the upper level?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, just above the escalator.
Yes.
Easy peasy.
Oh
Or the
gosh,
elevator.
yes. You don't need TSA pre-check.
You
At
don't
this
need
point,
it, but
if
we
you have it, it's nice.
We do have it. And speaking of such, let's look at some of the slides of the modernization project, which was very significant. If you haven't seen it, it's first rate. I'm told at one time there was actually purple where there's gray.
Yes,
on
there
the ceiling.
was.
I'm
I
glad.
remember the
I
purple.
like purple, but yeah.
To the-
Anyway, it's much more modern.
I
Wait,
remember that.
But SFB, I know that everywhere when you're in Sanford Airport, you see the SFB, and what is it? Stronger, faster, better.
It's simpler, faster, better.
Simpler,
It was
faster,
an old
better.
slogan for the airport, and it still works.
Yeah.
If you remember us, it's better than Space Force Base, which is now what SFB means nationally. But we'll own SFB unless the federal government gives us something better. But that's a 3-letter code, which I'm sure many of your travelers, customers understand. Every airport has a 3-letter code, right? So you can see the expanded ticketing area. There's the escalator that takes you up to screening. We now have 10 screening lines. And we're going to speak to the idea of the airport being common use. In the airport business, there's a lot of airports that you walk up and you see the gate has the airline's logo all over it, printed, and basically that airline owns that gate.
Yeah.
That's theirs. It's on a long-term lease and nobody can use it. And that's sort of the old model. SFB was created in the new model, and that is to say, you're not going to have a lack of gates. In the old model, if your flight came in a little late or a little early, you'd take a delay. You'd be sitting on the tarmac waiting for the gate to clear. Everyone's heard that. Well, our gate's not ready. We're going to have to wait here for 15, 20 minutes. So much for being on time or being early.
Yes.
So at SFB, every gate is accessible by every airline. Because when the airline's there, the screen pops up and their name is there. And when they leave, it goes down and the next airline can come in.
Oh, awesome.
So it's super efficient.
Yeah.
And we have a system from Amadeus, which works with all the airlines. And that's what most airports are going to in the future, so that you don't have these tarmac delays, which drive everybody crazy, including us. A little bit more on the terminal. You can see an overhead shot of the ramp area. We should have a new picture that shows that pier. That's East Concourse. That was Terminal A. That was the international area. But we built this new pier, which is 4 new gates. It's absolutely beautiful. It's state of the art over there. And so we now have 16 gates in the airport, which is not your small airport for most people.
Yeah.
And again, because it's common use, we can accommodate multiple airlines more efficiently. And then 3 brand new massive high capacity baggage claim units, which are under the East Concourse. It's a little confusing to people. When you come into our airport, we actually have 2 baggage claims, and so you have the East Concourse, and underneath East Concourse are these new baggage claim units. If you're in the West Concourse, which is the traditional domestic side of the airport, then there's a baggage claim there also.
Okay.
But it's really easy. When you land, just go down the escalator nearest to you and you'll be where you're supposed to be.
And isn't there a coffee stand right there?
There is Rataza.
Which is
Rataza,
really nice. You can kind of.
We have more meet and greets, as you can imagine. There's a lot of folks going to see their grandkids and their children, and So they like to sit there, and yeah, the Rataz is open, and it's very popular with our meet and greeters.
Mhm.
So yeah, and like they can park in the parking garage or in the surface lot.
I've been
and
there
then just
many a
come in.
time, many a time.
And then wanted to show you a few pictures of the Federal Inspection Station. This is where international arrivals come in.
Okay.
And you may go, okay, so where do you have international? So we have our Canadian service. Now, a lot of Canadian service actually pre-clears.
Yeah.
So you're flying out of major
Mhm.
cities in Canada, like Toronto or Vancouver,
Toronto,
or Montreal,
Vancouver,
you
Montreal, too.
pre-clear. But if you're flying out of Hamilton or London or Kitchener-Waterloo, you have to go through the Federal Inspection Station. And for a small airport, you come into this facility, and it's quite significant. And again, it was built for the old European traffic we had with wide-body airplanes. We can actually clear 1,200 passengers an hour, which is just stunning.
Wow.
And it does have the global entry units. You can see the photos there. And that baggage claim unit is actually inside the Federal Inspection Station. It's a high-capacity unit as well. We've had some very positive discussions with some international carriers. Probably more likely in the nearer future would be south of the border, maybe Mexico, maybe Dominican Republic and Colombia, things like that. But we'll see.
If they do come in, will they also be providing outbound for U.S. citizens? Possibly. Or
So
are they
when you
charters
say
coming
outbound,
in? Well, I want to go to Dominican Republic, and
well,
Dominican
that
Republic's
service I'm
like-
talking about would be scheduled.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
They could be sold on both
Yeah.
sides.
I just am still so used to thinking internationally, you can't get on the plane.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's-
we're trying to change that.
Okay, good.
But anyway, it's a nice facility. The thing that surprises people, if you've been over there, you leave the Federal Inspection Station. Most FISs, whether you're in Europe or in Asia, you leave that door and you've got like 200 yards of walking, and you're
Right.
like, oh my goodness. This one, you leave the door and you're actually physically on the sidewalk outside the airport. I sometimes worry someone's going to walk into the traffic, because it's like there's literally 6 feet before you're walking toward the parking garage, actually toward the car rental area. Parking garage is a little to the right, but we may actually change that, where this gets there's better words, but vented. This traffic can be vented in the East Concourse bag claim, so that it's more inside than walking outside. But
It's funny, this airport, when I go there, it reminds me of traveling as a child, and I am not young anymore, but traveling as a child at the old Newark airport,
oh sure,
where you would just get there and you'd walk in, and there were the ticket counters, and then the gates were just around there, and it was so easy to get around.
I remember as a kid flying out of Fort Lauderdale,
Yeah,
and all of the
that
airlines
too.
had their own modular terminal.
Yeah.
National, Eastern,
Yes.
Delta, Northeast. I'm aging myself.
Yes.
Piedmont. I started my career at Piedmont
okay.
Airlines in 1986. So things that are coming soon. So I mentioned that there have been a lot of changes in the airport. There will continue to be changes. We have two of the world's leading operators. For a small airport, that's sort of unusual. We have SSP, was one of the largest food operators in airports worldwide. And we have Hudson, which is very significant. So SSP is our primary food and beverage operator, and Hudson News is News and Gift. Their contracts are coming due, and the folks at SSP are looking at investing upwards of $5 million and replacing every unit. And I will tell you, the drawings are really good. They're really neat. And you might see, I can't let it out, but you might see a local restaurant that's very popular in Orlando Sanford International Airport, which would be very cool.
Yeah, so, that would be.
We're also looking at, I don't know if you know, we have a deck on the East Concourse. A lot of people don't know there's an outside deck. And we're going to put the restaurant on there. You'll be able to eat outside, which is going to be really cool.
That's a Newark restaurant from the 1930s and 40s and up to the 60s.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
We're going to have to go on
We're going to go on an
We're going to have to go on an excursion.
If the contracting goes well, this stuff should be open by February, March of 2024. It's going to take about a year.
Now, will that be open to the general public?
You will have,
or do you have to go through? You have to
you'll
clear.
have to go through screening.
Okay, so it's for flight.
It is in the East Concourse.
Okay.
The East Concourse will also undergo a significant change. We talk about trying to create a more interesting and exciting environment in the airport.
Mhm.
The East Concourse was originally the International Concourse, and it was called a gate, sort of
Yeah.
similar to a lot of the airports in Europe. And it'll continue to be called a gate. So there'll be seating for people, but it's going to be set up in a way where there's entertainment in zones. We'll have a stage there. I mentioned we're part of the VINCI Airports
Yeah.
network. We'll have VINCI Airports programming. If there, for instance, if there's a singer
Mhm.
doing a performance at London Gatwick, you're going to see it at Orlando
Oh,
Sanford.
wow.
There's really some cool things. We'll have a quiet zone. We'll have a kids zone. It's going to be very exciting, and this is coming in 2024. So,
Wow.
along with the new restaurants, we did get a new restaurant in 2022 on the West Concourse.
Mhm.
We added a Zaza's, a Cuban coffee,
Oh,
and
Oh,
yeah.
cafe,
okay.
They're local.
which is
Mhm.
terrific. We're real excited about that.
Yeah.
But everything else, if you've been at Orlando Sanford International Airport, all of the food and beverage locations will be changed out except for the new Zaza's. And so that's going to be very exciting. Our friends at Hudson are also looking at refreshing their units.
Mhm.
That'll be sometime probably between 24 and 25. I mentioned earlier, new carrier interest is very significant.
Mhm.
I'd like to say that we'll have a few more airlines by this time next year,
Wow. Good.
maybe sooner. And we're looking at parking. There are times where we overflow our parking into the grass
Yes.
fields at Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we apologize
Mhm.
for the inconvenience, but we have shuttles operating, and it's tough. They say you don't build a church for Easter,
Right.
or Christmas or New Year's, and you want to make that investment,
Mhm.
but you also want to make sure that
Right.
it's viable. So we're looking at the parking, and something that's exciting rather, is 417 is being looked at for a dedicated exit off of 417 into the airport, which would save a little of the traffic
Yeah.
along the roads outside the airport, and it would be more convenient,
Mhm.
particularly as the airport grows.
Yeah.
And
So-
also, again, there's those options for the shared, like Uber and
Oh
Lyft.
yeah, well you have
Very convenient.
you have Uber and Lyft. So when you're in the airport, you come into the West Concourse bag claim. You basically cross the street right there. Look left though first.
Mhm. Yes.
We don't want to get hit because the traffic's right there. You cross the street, and the Uber Lyft shuttle area is right there. It's literally feet.
Mhm.
Uber, Lyft, we have Mears taxis. Any
Mhm.
taxi can come. I see Mears more than
Yeah.
others, but shuttle buses come and pick up. I've seen the Villagers a shuttle.
Mhm.
As the airport grows, I think there'll be more shuttle business going on there. At one time, we operated a thing called the Attraction Express.
Oh, okay.
That actually was suspended at the end of last year, in December, just waiting for stronger traffic.
Right.
Mhm.
Because obviously you want
Mhm.
it to be successful. It's got to more than break even. But as the airport grows, I think there'll be great opportunity for more shuttle service.
What about the cruise business?
The cruise business is significant to Greater Orlando,
Mhm.
certainly to Orlando International,
Yes.
and to us. We're really not all that far or
Oh,
further
I know.
from the cruise port, from Port Canaveral.
Mhm.
So the cruise business is very
Mhm.
viable. The cruise ships, if they're selling,
Yeah.
air on our airlines, it works.
Mhm.
People can get down there. Um, we're not at a stage yet where you see Royal Caribbean
Right.
bringing their bus up, or Disney or Carnival,
Mhm.
but I think at some point in the future, it probably will happen.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
And well, I was going to mention, just back on the Uber Lyft. I mean,
Mhm.
I've experienced it at quite a number of airports, having to go walking miles to
Yeah.
find
Right.
where's the shared service.
Mhm.
Where do we go to find this? And it's always an escapade to figure it out. It's literally baggage. You walk out, and
yeah, no,
it's
you're
very
absolutely right.
easy
No
and
matter which
very.
side, if you come in the East Concourse, you're on the east side of the Welcome Center or Hospitality Building. That's where our car rentals are. And if you come in on the west side, you're right on, just on the other side of that
Yeah.
building, right in front of the shuttle area. So that's the appeal. I think if you're looking for an easier travel experience,
Yeah.
it is sort of old school. Not from the standpoint of the level of service we provide, because I think we do a really good job, but it's just much more convenient. And we don't generally run out of parking, and when we do, we have it planned. No
Mhm.
one's ever going to be in a position where they can't find a space, even if, in worst case scenario, they're parking in a
Yeah.
grass field that we're monitoring and managing. Um, we will grow, and we'll try to keep that focus on being an easier departure airport, and that's important to us. That's important to our stakeholders. It's important to the city of Sanford, the airport's board, and the Sanford Airport Authority, who has new president Nicole Guillet, and I know that's important to her as well.
I know the one thing that's an ancillary business for you, for locals, is your car rental business.
Right. Oh, well, car rentals are massive in Central Florida. Speaking for both MCO and SFB, and it's a significant part of our business. I think it's actually Orlando International's largest revenue producer.
Well, I know that if I have to rent a car, I will go to the airport to rent the car because it's easier to get. There's so many more options and choices,
and
that benefits you because there's a fee that you're paying to rent the car.
There is that. There is.
So there's
a CFC fee,
exactly,
which reimburses the airport
Mm-hmm.
for their roadways or their security or police or any number of things that they use that on. But that is certainly an aspect of the airport, and we do get a lot of folks who come in. And who will pick up a rental car. Even the locals will say, they want to drive somewhere.
I'm there.
Save miles on their own car.
I've done it about 7 times in the last year.
Actually, I'm doing it on Thursday myself. Thank you, budget. Anyway, so the last slide, just a overhead picture of the airport and the terminal, and there's a lot of changes coming. And I would encourage anyone, if you have questions, the great folks here at Go Travel can answer them, or you're welcome to call me or email me, and I'll be glad to help.
Very good.
Just on a thought of, if you're thinking about flying into Sanford, and we always suggest, and your travel planner will help you with this, but we always suggest, trying to come in a day early if you're coming in for a cruise, or you're coming in for or something.
Travel like that.
Especially with, recently flights have had, like you said, because of the shortages and everything, there can be things up in the air. And if you're not going, let's say, straight to the parks, or maybe you're coming for a different reason, check out the local area up in North Orlando.
Right.
So whether we're talking about Sanford, which is just growing, so many cute restaurants, entertainment, it's super eclectic. They have restaurants called the Jailhouse and the old Firehouse. It's got a lot of just kind of quaint character. The German restaurant, Hollerbox,
and
with accordions and I mean, it's Oktoberfest year round. All kinds of fun things. Beautiful waterway there, like waterfront,
and the sunsets over Lake Monroe are stunning. I mean, you think you were in San Diego or something. It really is gorgeous. I tell people who aren't familiar with the area, just come out of the airport. If you use the back road, it's a little faster over to Sanford. It's about 10 minutes. And as you said, it's really fun.
Yeah. Speaking of coming in early, what are the plans for a hotel or something at the airport? Are there plans for any?
There are, and I think there are different interests who have interest in developing a hotel there. There's a lot actually there. There's a lot of pilot training that goes on our airport. You may know that one of the pilot training facilities for Allegiant is at our airport.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
That large building off to the left that we kid Allegiant a little bit, say, why don't you put your logo on there so people know it is? Well, they think that everyone will go over there and try to buy a ticket. So there may be something to that too. But if you're wondering what that large building off to the left, it's pilot training. That's where their pilots get on their simulators and learn how to fly their airplanes. It's worth mentioning, Allegiant is taking on new aircraft this fall, which explains a little bit of the reduction of service right now. Because if you're an airline, you have to take pilots off the planes they're flying to train them on new planes, and they can't switch back. So they're going to be taking pilots off of their Airbus A319 and 20s to train them to fly Boeing 737 MAX 7s and 8s.
Oh, okay.
And that'll be coming, and you'll see brand new airplanes.
Nice.
I've heard we're going to get a handful of them at our airport. So you'll see some new exciting. It's like a new car.
Yeah,
it smells good. So there's a lot of exciting things, and again, I do believe I can say confidently that we'll have some more airlines sooner than later.
Wonderful
for you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Todd, for sharing all of
Yes,
this.
It's my pleasure.
It's so much fun to kind of go behind the scenes and learn a little bit more about this airport
Right.
that you may be using, and maybe you've discovered a new airport today that
Mhm.
you weren't aware of in the
Well,
past.
we hope you have, and you book it with Go Travel. These are good people. We're
Absolutely.
all
So
in.
again, connect with your travel specialist. Just go to gotravel.com and we'll connect you with a specialist based on whatever you're dreaming to do. And we want to make that kind of dream vacation happen for you. But in the meantime, have a wonderful week and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.